Okay, girls, thank you very much for giving up the time on the beach. And as I said in my message, it is a really nice day today, so I do appreciate it. But we have a superstar with us today, so it's worth every minute. Hollie Arnold, as I put in my message, is joining us today. She was training this morning, and she's taken time out of her day to have a chat with us with no technical hitches, thank goodness. So who has done their homework and is going to go, yes, I have a question? Or do you want to say something first, Hollie? Do you want to say anything to the girls, or should we just bombard you with the questions?
Go for it if you want.
Okay, who's going first? Come on. I'm going to pick somebody otherwise.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Lee?
Yeah?
I'm going to do a screenshot. So should we get everyone smiling?
Yeah, let's do it.
Whatever I do, somebody's not going to be happy with it. So I'm just going to give warning.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Gotcha.
You done it?
Yeah,
well done.
Just as you were taking that, Alwyn, I'm sure Ella nearly fell off her chair.
I'll tell you now.
I saw that. You're flapping around. It's okay.
Ella's hair was sticking up like a troll, so that'll be a good one in the screenshot. Ella, I know you're a person of very few words. Would you like to start? Have you got a question for Hollie ready?
Wait, me?
Yes, Ella.
Oh, I can't. You or me?
Ella.
Who? Me? Ella.
Yes, me, Ella. Yes.
Okay. What got you into, what got you into it? I don't know.
So what got me into sport? What, a javelin or just sport all over?
Like javelin.
Javelin. So
Yeah.
I've always been quite a sporty young girl anyway. So I've done hockey, netball, basketball, football. I used to love doing everything. But when I was about 12 years old, me and my brother went to a local track to try anything. It was everything you could try. And of course, being a little annoying sister, my brother actually picked up the javelin first and threw it, and I was like, I want to beat him. So I picked up and threw it, and literally everyone was just like, have you ever thrown before? And I was like, no, I don't know what it is. And literally that is basically how I got into it. And, I never really knew many disabled people. So I was always with able-bodied guys. So to me, I didn't really know any difference. And I basically got thrown in the deep end. And the next really major sort of disabled competition I did was the Paralympics, which was 2008 when I was 14 years old. So, it went from 0 to 100 in extreme, but it was a fantastic experience. And even though I was really young, I loved it.
But I've got to jump in here because I've done my homework. I grilled Nath, so I'm all right. But you first started competing at the age of 11, competing.
Yeah, so about 11, 12 years old, obviously just really local competitions. Just to get into it, really. Obviously, javelin's quite a dynamic sport, and when you're that young, you need to learn some of the basics. But I didn't really have that much opportunity to compete quite a lot before I really went into the Paralympics. So yeah.
And when you first competed, because all the girls are aged sort of 12 and 13, when you competed at that young age, you got quite a lot of medals in lots of different sort of javelin and other sort of events. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah, so obviously at the moment, apart from javelin, the only other sort of events that are available in my category, which is F46, is like long jump and sprinting. The only throws event is javelin. So when I was younger, I used to do discus and shot put. So I used to do all the throws. I loved all of them. Obviously, javelin was my favourite, of course, but it was a real shame, obviously, for not to have a second option, really. But every time we used to do like club meets and stuff, they'd be like, put Hollie in the throws, just chuck her in there. And I was like, that's all I was good at. But yeah, I've done all sorts, but I wish I had more throws in the Paralympics.
Who's next? Who's at the top of my screen? Yasmin. Hiya.
Hello.
Hi.
What achievement are you most proud of?
Oh, good question.
Tricky question. So there's two. I can't whittle it down to any more than that. I think my first has to be winning the Paralympics for the first time in 2016 in Rio. Not only did I win the Paralympics, I broke the world record, I think 3 times in the whole 6 throws. And it was just, you know, a lot of people see me smiling on the podium and getting all these gold medals, but they don't see my background. They don't see what I've been through or my family and the training and sacrifices I've had to do. So being from 2008 in the first ever Paralympics I went to at 14, going on to then Rio and winning my first Paralympics, it took me 10 years to get there, nearly 10 years to get there. And, you know, I can't think of anything better than standing on that podium with that medal around my neck, knowing that I have done everything I could have, and then to break the world record that I've been chasing for so long, that has to be my top moment so far.
And at the age of 14, Holly, which these girls next year will all be hitting 14, can you give them a sort of idea of how much training, bearing in mind you were in school as well, how much training you would put in at that age, just to kind of give them an idea?
Yeah, of course. So obviously I was at school, so we kind of had to make a deal where I could train twice a week outside of school. But with that, I had to join like I don't really know, I'm not even going to say what people used to call it, but it's called a catch-up group. And it was just for people who sort of struggle with learning, or it took them a while to sort of get up to that speed. And for me, it was, I missed out 2 days, so I had to catch up. And that group was the best group ever because, you know, I was able to learn and train at the same time. So my school was really good to me. So I would train 2 times in Manchester. So I'd have to obviously get up really early, like 6 o'clock with my mum, and go get the train to Manchester. So the training would obviously involve some sprinting, some running, some agility work. Obviously 14, I don't do it half as, like I do so much more now, obviously, because I'm older, but you have to find a balance. So I wasn't really in the gym at that time because at 14 I didn't need to develop muscle strength like that. You can get it from the basics of, you know, the normal, learning how to run, how to do med balls and, you know, hurdle drills and things like that. So although really when you think about it, I felt like at the time I did so much training, but I really didn't. I guess, yeah, it was more the tiring aspect of the traveling all the time. And I traveled to go and see my coach at that time, and there was no one really around that I could, you know, I could go to. The club people weren't really many javelin coaches around there. So I was always on the go, which probably made me feel like I was always training loads and loads. But then obviously after Beijing, I came back and realised that I want to win a gold medal. So then that's where the training upped.
Thanks, Holly. Who's next? Alwyn, do you want to pick somebody to go next?
He's muted.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Alwyn.
Sorry, Caris.
Caris.
Okay. How does it feel when you step up to do your event?
How does it feel to step up to my event? So I'm really nervous. It's horrible. Like I have stomach aches and I just feel so nervous and the pressure really gets to me, but I have to act really cool. So a lot of people, again, who don't know particularly the sport and what's involved is when you go into call-up, you have to obviously sit in a room with all of your competitors across the world. And, you know, it's not that I don't like some of them, but I'm there to do my job. I'm there to win. I'm there to go out there and beat them all. So having to sit there and basically opposite basically your enemy, it's kind of hard. And you've got to keep that cool face because a lot of it's about how your appearance is. So you need to be like, I'm just sat there like this, just really chilled. But inside, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And that's the thing. That's a lot of people say on TV, oh, Holly looks like cool as a cucumber. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm having a bit of a meltdown inside, which is normal. It's excitement. It's nerves. It's reactions to so much pressure. You know, I have to go out there and win every single time. And although it seems sometimes easy, it's not. So yeah, I'm a bit of a mess sometimes going towards a major comps, but I always seem to pull out of the bag.
Girls, does that sound a bit familiar when you're asked in school to stand up and do a presentation or do a talk? Does that feeling sound a little bit So it's not
Every
just
time.
you.
Yeah.
The world's best gets it as well.
I
so-
don't like speaking, so I get nervous
Yeah.
doing these things because I don't want to say the wrong thing, or everyone gets nervous. But it's a good thing.
Okay. Steph, do you want to pick somebody?
Sure, we will go. Oh, go on, Millie.
How has lockdown affected your training?
Good question. A lot. So obviously, find out the news that the Paralympics wasn't going ahead. It broke my heart. It absolutely destroyed me. You know, I trained day in, day out for these major competitions, the World Championships, you know, European Championships, the Paralympics, and everything I do is for that. So when that was taken away from me, I kind of struggled. I didn't really feel like I had sort of anything to, you know, structurally help me with. So I told my coach that I needed some time off and that I needed to just have a complete break from sport because mentally it's tiring. And obviously with being inside and, you know, I've only got my garden to train. I can't throw a javelin in my garden. It's not big enough, unfortunately. And I can't go down the park and just chuck a javelin because that would be fun. So yeah, it's really affected me. And I guess also mentally, as you see people on social media posting about training or posting that they're in a track and because they're lucky enough to be able to go on a track at that time. And that really hurt me because I felt like I wasn't doing my job properly, or I felt guilty. And you shouldn't feel like that. We're going through a global pandemic and there is bigger things out there than the Paralympics and training every day. So it really took me a good step back to realize that I can do little things, and now I'm starting to get back training, and I'm no worse off than I was 4 months ago. So that's always a really good thing.
Thank you. Who's going? Licia, have you got a good question? Mute. I think is your mute still?
Maybe it's her volume. Is her volume up?
Oh yeah. Try again, Licia. Still can't hear.
Do you want to text it to the group and then I can read it out?
Good. Oh, look at that. Thinking outside the box. Taya and Helen. If you
can
text
just
it,
put it on chat on the bottom of there. And we'll
oh yeah. If you put it on the chat.
See if you move your mouse or if you're on the phone. Is it on the phone though? Good question.
Oh. Holly's getting nervous waiting for this question. Listen.
I know, like build up.
No pressure.
The thing with technology in it, it's as good as it is. There's always flaws in there, and I've had loads of Zoom calls where I'm just like, "Oh no, I'm frozen. No one can hear me." Oh, here we go.
What's the hardest thing about your job? Oh, that's a great question.
That's a very good question. I would say that I've had to sacrifice so much of my life and my family's life. I'm born from Grimsby. That's where I'm originally born from, or grew up. And when I was 15, I moved to Wales. So I lived in Wales for 7 years for different coaching, having better sports facilities. And I lived there for 7 years. And now I'm in Loughborough, where when I was 16, I had to go to college. Obviously, I knew nobody. Everyone was Welsh. I was English. I know there's always a bit of a thing with Welsh and English people. And you know, I struggled socially. My job is very, you know, it's very hard. It's very tiring to train every day. And, you know, it's not just once a day. It can be twice a day. You know, when I come home, I just want to chill out. I don't always want to go and see my friends. So I think the social side of being a normal 14 to 18-year-old plus, I haven't had that normal interaction of maybe, you know, going out and enjoying parties and things like that when you get older and things like that. It's not that I'm going to say that I wish I had that, because there's plenty of time to do that in the future, but I think I've just missed being home where my friends were based. Obviously living in Wales, I didn't really have that many friends there, and I found a good group of people, but it's not home, it's not my family, it's not my grandparents, and I think that's probably one of the hardest jobs, but it's paid off so far, and I wish I can keep carrying making my family proud.
Great question. Thank you, Licia. Who's left? Who hasn't been yet? Go, Alan.
What's been the hardest part about your career?
Is that the question? Is that the same question we had? Sorry.
No, is it
The hardest thing about your job? So hardest career.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure you girls are all grown up to obviously hear this, that in 2013 my mum got diagnosed with depression, and she had to go in a mental institute. So it was a very tough time to realise what was going on at the age of, I think I was 18, 19 years old. I obviously won't go into major details, but I struggled a lot with training. I had to battle not seeing my mum and obviously dealing with depression. It wasn't talked about back in 2013, where I think now there's a lot of stigma about being open and being honest about things. And for a few years I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't open up properly without crying, because it's still quite raw. But obviously, she went through a tough time. We all did as a family, and that was the first time I became world champion that year in Lyon for the first time ever. And my parents weren't there to watch me, because obviously mum just come out of hospital, my dad was working abroad. So kind of standing on the podium and realising that there's so much that my parents have done for me, that's probably one of the hardest things.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Hollie. I'm sure, as the time goes on, that some of the girls may, relate to some of the things that you've had to go through to get to where you are. Who's left to go? Steve, have you picked anybody yet? I think
not sure if I have. I don't know who's left.
Yourself, Steve.
Ellen's left, is it?
Yeah.
Go.
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
It's a lot of muting going on.
Yeah.
Has there been times where you wanted to quit?
Oh, great question.
Yes, there has been times, and probably 2013 was the start of them. But I think it was 2012 that sort of kicked off. Obviously, I went to London 2012 Paralympics, and obviously going to Beijing, I wanted to win a medal. In my head, it was like, I have to win a medal. I have to prove to people who I am and what I can do. And I came 6th with a personal best, which to me meant nothing at the time. I threw 36 meters 26, and the person who broke the world record at the time did 41 meters. So, it was a big difference to me. And I had all the pressure of the home crowd, had the pressure of my family being there. Obviously funding was in place, and my head coach at the time didn't want me on funding after that, because they could never see me as a Paralympian, or could never see me as a world champion or a gold medalist. And now the head coach, Paula Dunn, she took a chance on me and said, give her one more year, she's still really young. And then obviously I became world champion. But that for me was the time where I wanted to quit. I didn't feel like I was ever going to be good enough. And for one person to have that chance and take that, for me, I'm now sort of successful, basically, because she gave me a chance.
Yeah, and that's life, really, about people giving chances. So
of course it is. I was lucky that she gave me a chance.
Has all the girls had their questions? I know Alwyn has been on Wikipedia all day, so.
Ella, I don't think Ella has.
Ella?
I have.
Yeah. Ella's been, I think that's everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Alwyn?
Yeah, go on.
Excited.
I'm just interested because the whole ethos of the girls' sports crew is to get girls, and especially teenage girls, active. There's a big drop off, as we go from primary school, where we've got loads of children active through our Bronze Young Ambassadors program, into secondary school, and it's sort of, as they get older, there's more and more of a drop off, really. So what's the advice with keeping girls interested and keeping the club going, making the club better and stronger?
So I think obviously when I was younger, I went straight into quite a pressure role because I was on the GB team at such a young age, and I kind of had to go through that system where I think, now the girls, you need to find it fun. It needs to be fun. It needs to be exciting. It's about meeting friends. I've created so many incredible friendships over the world because of sport. And you know, it came to a point where, you know, boys get involved or, you know, things like that, and you want to hang out with your friends and stuff. But if you honestly have talent, it's about the people around you to support you. I wouldn't have been where I am today if it weren't for my parents. My parents drove me everywhere. They took me everywhere. They paid for everything because I wasn't able to afford things. And, you know, and I just think that it's about the support and the commitment, but seriously making it fun for you. Because my training, I've told my coach, he needs to make training fun for me. Because sometimes doing it day in, day out, it's hard. And, you know, the girls will have school, they'll come home, they're tired, things like that. It's just trying to create something environmentally good for you, you know. And if that's throwing javelin, I hope someone starts taking the role of javelin and having a go, because I was always petrified of trying something else because I was the odd girl out because I had a disability, but I never, ever let that bother me at all. So, yeah, I think it's just creating that good circle around you, finding that good friends to keep you motivated. And you guys with the coaches and things like that is making things fun and enjoyable, but also, you know, hard work at the same time.
Thank you for that,
Thank
Holly.
you.
Steph, have you, Steph's nodding there. Steph's like...
Oh, yeah, it was a very good point. Yeah, a question, Holly, regarding during the lockdown, have you watched The Last Dance on Netflix?
No, I want to watch it, but my boyfriend has, and I've caught little snippets of it because I didn't want to watch it because I wanted to watch it on my own. I've heard a lot of good things about, obviously, The Last Dance. I've also heard some negative parts as well. But what I can gather is it's an insight to Michael Jordan's life, right? Yeah. As an athlete.
So the main thing I was going to ask, without trying to give you any spoilers, if somebody said to you now, right, no more javelin, what sport or what would you fancy giving a go?
Great question, Steph.
Does it have to be sport, or?
Do you know what? I'll leave it open-ended. You've got to stop javelin now. What would you like to do? The world is your oyster.
Makes me sad a little bit.
Sorry for taking that away from you.
I think I've never thought about another sport. I have never thought about going to another sport like cycling or anything like that. People have told me I would be good at cycling. It's got powerful legs, but I don't like cycling. I can't sit on my bum for that long because it hurts. I don't know how cyclists do it. But I think still being involved with sport, I'd love to do media because I think that, or a coach actually, media or a coach, because I never had anybody to look up to who had the same disability as me, or even just really any disability that I kind of understood. And because I've been through, I feel old, like I'm 26 now, and I've been competing for so long, people call me like a veteran of the team, and I'm like, cheers guys. I was like, I've got baby face. But yeah, I think I would love to go down because I want to give back to the sport. I want to be able to give my knowledge. You know, I might not be a good coach. Just because I'm a javelin thrower and I've won gold medals doesn't always automatically mean I'm a good coach. But I would love to give my knowledge and work with disabled and able-bodied because I think that's really important. I wish I had somebody to look up to. And on the non-sport side, I love makeup. I'm a real girly girl. And I would love to sort of get into professional makeup artist stuff, and like I love photography and makeup stuff like that. So yeah, but you just never know. I don't really think about it. You should think about having a career after, because sport isn't for life. But yeah, there would be my options. Good question.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you.
That was a good question. Steve, have you? I know you know Holly anyway, but have you got a question for Holly?
Of all the things you've achieved in sport over the years, which one would you say you're most proud of? World Championships, gold medals, world records?
MBE.
The list is on endless.
Yeah, like I think for me is obviously, I don't know, like the MBE is amazing, and I was really honoured to go and collect my MBE and with Prince Charles and curtsy and do everything else and try not to mess everything up. But to me, I just do what I love. So that to me, even though I'm so humble to get that award, it's not like the be all and end all. I've never gone out there, I need to be an MBE. It's not about that for me. It's about going out there and showing not just disabled people, everybody, that if you work hard and you like something, something can be achievable. And I think that's really important for especially young girls. to aspire to something that, you know, doubt kills more dreams than everything. So, you know, I always doubted myself when I was younger, and I'm able to achieve these things. And sometimes I really do need to sit back to myself and go, you started from here and now you're here, and you're still going, still progressing. But I think my memory has to be Commonwealth Games, because the world record got taken off me in the first throw against my main rival called Hollie as well. She's spelled with a Y. Not that it makes any difference, but there we are. And for me at that time, it was like, I just kind of lost my world, but I was fine. I was like, you have 5 more throws to get this back. And each throw was further and further and further, but it just wasn't enough. And I remember, obviously, my last round, after 3 throws, it goes in reverse order. So it'll go, the person who throws, who's the least thrower will go first, and then obviously then the main thrower is last. And at that time, I was second to last. So I put myself in a really awkward position. And I just remember saying to myself, like, this is yours to take. Do not let her take this from you. And I got the crowd going. The stadium was absolutely packed. It was obviously full of Australians. There was no Australians in my event, but they were cheering for me. And I just got everybody going. And I just, as soon as I let the javelin go, I screamed. And I've never been that sort of emotional or like aggressive with the javelin. And I had no idea where it landed, but I knew it was a lot further than her throw. And for that 30 seconds that they obviously, you know, they did the measuring, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with myself. And it popped up and it said 44, and that's all I could see. But I knew it was the world record. And I think I just jumped in the air. I was like, number 1 at the TV. I was mental. But to take that back from, you know, a serious pressure point where a lot of able-bodied Paralympics just crumble under the pressure, and yeah, to be Commonwealth champion and have a new world record, it was
44.43.
Yeah.
And the other Hollie, New Zealander, which is why the Aussies were on your side.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I have one question, Hollie, only a quick one. One of the questions I ask all the girls at the end of a session, and when they deliver a session, is 3 things. We talk about it being safe, we talk about it being inclusive, and we talk about it being fun. Mm-hmm. We've sat today and chatted to you, and the girls, you talked about your classification, but I don't think they will have any concept of your disability.
Yeah.
Because some disabilities you can obviously see, but some you can't. Could you just explain to the girls briefly about your classification and your disability, so they have an understanding of kind of how it all works?
So I was born without a right forearm. No idea why. Mum and Dad found out 20-week scan that I was going to be born with 1 arm. And really, so the F is track and field, so there'll be T and F, which is obviously track field. So I'm a field event, so it'd be F46, and the categories, there is thousands and thousands of categories, so I won't go into that detail. But the earlier the number is the worst category. So sort of we're talking about T11s and things like that. T11s, T13s are actually visually impaired. So it'll go down the line of that as the worst impairment. Then we'll go on to wheelchairs. So people with cerebral palsy, people who've had strokes and things like that will be under that class. So that will be in the 30s. That'll be the 30s till the 38 is a cerebral palsy class. Then we go on to dwarfs. I don't actually know that. I don't know what they, I mean, one of my best friends is a dwarf. And he doesn't like to be called little person because I think that's more discriminating than it is. So he's got dwarfism, so I'm going to call him a dwarf. And they have it's a weird category. It's a 40 and a 41, and it's a small dwarf and a tall dwarf. So some dwarfs who are born really, really small, and obviously some dwarfs are born slightly bigger, so they have more an advantage. And they've only just recently split the classifications because it's kind of hard competing against sort of somebody who's double your height, really, even though you are a dwarf. And then we go into the 40s then, which is me, it's the 44s. So the 44s, 42s are leg amputations. And then obviously my category is person with 1 arm. any sort of maybe like stroke that you can't function with your arm type thing. And then it goes into the 50s, which is like the main wheelchair guys. And that's probably the best description I can say, because without going into so much detail, as even some of the classifications I don't even understand.
That was absolutely perfect. I think, you know, for a basic understanding, the girls kind of get the idea.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, I just like to say, I know Alwyn will want to say a few words. I just want to say thank you ever so much for giving up your time for the girls. I know that they'll get a lot out of it. So from my point, thank you very much, Holly.
No problem. Thank you.
Alwyn?
Yeah, and from our point, from the whole team, Holly, and I'll let the girls speak now in a minute, but it's fantastic, really. It's been quite difficult. You know, the club is, like every other sort of social club, meeting every Thursday and, you know, having a quick chat at the end of the session and plan the following week.
Yeah.
We sort of, well, they haven't met for 3-4 months. So
Long time.
Weeks in, that Lee had the idea of sort of starting to do things on Zoom, and it's still quite difficult, you know, to do it. And you know, how, like you said, we've got to make things interesting. How do we make things interesting and fun on Zoom or on in a different way? But this is really, really impressive. It's really, really important for us to get a grasp of inclusivity and achievement and personal goals and things like that. So yeah, you know, I'm sure myself and Steve and Stefano are really, really grateful. I'm sure the girls are as well. Would one of the girls like to speak?
One of the girls want to say anything on behalf of all of you?
Thank you very much for coming on, and it's really helped, like what you've been saying and stuff, and it's inspirational.
Oh, thank you. I'm just a normal girl, trust me. We all have issues. So
well, I have one last question. Are you going to beat your 44.43 in?
Yeah, I need to.
Yes.
I have to, because at the moment the world record's not mine. So, but at the end of the day, the world record is there to break. Gold medals are there to stay. So that's what I tell myself. Like, going out to Tokyo next year, I would love to go out there and retain my title, and I want to put the world record out there for reach that they can't reach. So that is my goal for next year.
That's a fab goal. Holly?
Are you feeling like you're back into it now, Holly? Because you said at the start of lockdown it was a bit of a struggle. Are you feeling like you're back into it and ready to get the training program done?
I feel more me again. And unfortunately, you know, with everybody obviously working at home and things like that, is I have my own house. When I used to go to training, it would be training, and then I'd come here and it'd be home. And I love that completely changed. Where when I was trying to train at home and live at home and it didn't work. I didn't have any headspace for myself, and I didn't feel like I had any goals to actually achieve. So I was like, I need a break. Why am I doing this? I haven't really had a break for 10 years plus. So this is the only opportunity that I can take positively out of the whole lockdown, is having a complete break from sort of social media sometimes, having a break from athletics. I've now come back and I feel so much more like myself. I've got my competitiveness back. You know, I'm ready to train. I want to change. I want to better myself, you know, ready for next year. So I have new goals now. And I have bad days as well. Like, geez, I'm not the most positive person all the time. It's normal. So we all have bad days, good days. But I'm excited for next year.
Well, you have a few more social media followers from West Wales. I'm sure everyone's going to be following you big time now for the major championships and sports, especially. Okay.
Thank you.
Lovely. Holly, thank you very much for your time, and good luck with everything. And we will follow you and see you in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.